As a journalist, you are supposed to be the unbiased observer and reporter. One key tenet is to never be the story. Well, one journalist found that out the hard way. We'll have that story and more coming up.
You are listening to the Veteran Podcast, the podcast digging into important veteran-related topics, news, and resources. Here's your host, U.S. Army veteran Joe Stone.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Veteran Podcast, sponsored in part by What They Signed Up For. What They Signed Up For is a nonprofit book project that tells the stories of post-9/11 veterans. To get a free copy of the book, go to whattheysignedupfor.org and use promo code VeteranPod. That's whattheysignedupfor.org and use promo code VeteranPod at checkout. If you're watching this, know that you can also listen to the podcast on our website or find the Veteran Podcast on any podcast player. And please, if you'd be so kind, follow or subscribe and leave a review. If you're listening, you can also watch this podcast, if that's your thing, on our YouTube channel. Links are both in the description. And before we get to the news, I wanted to tell you all real quick that I started another podcast. And it's got a great name. You ready? Joe to Joe. Yeah, it's brilliant, right? So it's me, Joe. I'm interviewing other Joes, and by Joes, I mean veterans. Military members, caregivers, advocates, etc., etc. So if you're interested in some real veteran talk, go find Joe to Joe on your favorite podcast player. It's only going to be a podcast for right now. So anyways, Joe to Joe on your favorite podcast player, go find it. Now, for the news. This last week, in the midst of celebrating Women's History Month and the impact that women have made, one Fox News host, known for saying provocative things, said something that stirred up the military community.
So we've got new hairstyles and maternity flight suits. Pregnant women are going to fight our wars. It's a mockery of the U.S. military. While China's military becomes more masculine as it's assembled the world's largest navy, our military needs to become, as Joe Biden says, more feminine, whatever feminine means anymore, since men and women no longer exist. The bottom line is it's out of control, and the Pentagon's going along with this. Again, this is a mockery of the U.S. military and its core mission, which is winning wars.
Of course, this wasn't well received by a lot of people in the military and out, and it wasn't well received by the Defense Department in particular. Pentagon Press Secretary John F. Kirby stated, "What we absolutely won't do is take personnel advice from a talk show host or the Chinese military." With that backlash, the following day he later tried to walk it back.
And that phrase stuck out. Not because we have some hateful bias against pregnant women flying military jets. We're pro-pregnancy, as we often say. We're also open-minded. Maybe pregnant women make the best pilots. The Department of Defense measures everything, so there's got to be extensive research on this question. If the Pentagon can show that pregnant pilots are the best, we will be the first to demand an entire Air Force of pregnant pilots.
I'm not even sure what to say about that. So we're going to move on. I don't know about you, but I am a big nerd for anything tech, especially if it's military tech. For the last couple of years, the Army has been developing its Integrated Visual Augmentation System, or IVAS Goggle. It allows soldiers in the battlefield to not just see in the dark, but check around corners, have maps projected into their view, and even see through walls or the sides of their troop personnel carrier. This allows troops to quickly orient themselves on the battlefield and have a much improved situational awareness. Microsoft won a $400 million contract to develop the tool based on their HoloLens system. The Army hopes to begin fielding this equipment as early as 2022 for up to 40,000 of its frontline soldiers. New legislation titled the VA Vaccine Act was approved in the House last week and would allow the VA to give vaccines to any veteran and most caregivers. Currently, only veterans who are eligible for VA healthcare are authorized to get it. So the measure, which still needs approval from the Senate, would still prioritize those who already get care from the VA. Now, for some tips and resources. RallyPoint now has a veteran job board. If you're unfamiliar with RallyPoint, it's a social media platform for strictly military members, veterans, and supporters. Businesses with 500 employees or less can post job announcements for free. On January 24th, they'll be holding a veteran employment and entrepreneurship event on the platform where you can ask questions to top veteran employers like Walmart, USAA, and more. Speaking of jobs, the U.S. Postal Service is hiring veterans. They already employ around 100,000 vets, but they are looking to expand on that. Specifically, they are looking for tractor-trailer operators. So, if you know any veteran truck drivers looking for work, tell them the post office is hiring. You can go to about.usps.com/careers. So that's it for this week. Thank you for tuning into the Veteran Podcast, the podcast for veterans with news, tips, and resources, all in under 10 minutes. If you found this to be valuable and want to help me keep this going, please buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Joe Stone. If you want to hear more in-depth stories from other veterans, check out my new podcast, Joe to Joe. I'll be interviewing other veterans, family members, advocates, and others who are part of the military and veteran community. I'll put a link in the show notes, or you can go to theveteranpodcast.com for more information. If you enjoyed watching and listening, follow the show on your favorite player or YouTube, and let your buddies know about it. If you'd rather read all about it, I also create a blog version on our website with a complete transcript. So, that wraps it up for this week. See you next time.